Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video, and boy, oh boy, do I got this spicy video for you guys today. Denuvo responds to their rep for tanking games. I'm a gamer myself, and therefore I know what I'm talking about. Rock, Paper, Shotgun got the interview, link to them in the description box below. For complete transparency, I have yet to read this interview. I saw the headline and I was like, let me fire up Audacity, let's record a little bit, and let's give you guys my live reaction to what is said. Denuvo, if you are unaware, is the anti-piracy DRM that is implemented in several games that would slow down piracy. Does it outright prevent it? No, but the idea is you can slow it down a little bit. A lot of games have Denuvo. A lot of games ultimately take out Denuvo after 3 months, 6 months, around that range, because at that point the game was cracked anyway, and you might as well take it out because it serves no purpose at that point. It is a way to prevent piracy, but at the same time, there has been a lot of instances where Denuvo is looked at actually harming the people, or, harming is kind of a strong word, affecting the people that, are spending money on their game. The argument can be made, maybe we should prioritize creating the best possible experience for those that are spending their hard-earned money on the game, rather than implementing things that are preventing people from pirating the game while also affecting the people that are spending their money on the game, if you guys get what I'm saying. But let's go over this interview because I'm sure there's some interesting stuff. Right off the top, this is from Nick Rubin, staff writer, again at Rock, Paper, Shotgun, link in the description box below. Over the past week or so, you may have caught wind of Denuvo, the makers of anti-cheat and anti-piracy software, embarking on a PR campaign of sorts intended to combat negative public perception of their software. In case you're unfamiliar, Denuvo's wares have become infamous for allegedly sabotaging the performance of all sorts of video games, from Resident Evil Village to Tekken 7, though accounts of the severity vary and there is an ongoing shortage of independently supplied raw data. That is from the author. Denuvo's attempts to clear the air include opening a Discord, which they say is a key step in fostering closer relationship with game developers, publishers, and players, offering a dynamic real-time platform for meaningful interaction. On Monday, Denuvo's media team reached out to me to offer an interview with Denuvo's product manager, Andreas Ullman. Here's that interview edited for brevity. Rock, Paper, Shotgun asked, in a recent public statement, you said, we will stop letting every claim about our product go unanswered. What claims are you referring to? It's basically really about the stuff that's posted by the community. So you just need to check out Steam forums, for example. Very toxic, very hostile environment. If a game announces to use any of our products, if you check out the Steam forums, all the claims are popping up in SSDs are destroyed by our solution, the usual performance topics that we simply don't want to leave the floor to these people who are posting all of things about us anymore. We want to also be there for a person who has not heard about us before. We also want to share our view, our opinion on these topics, and also act as a trusted source of information. I can totally understand that there is a lot of bias if we are claiming something, because we often have the complete opposite view on something than the people we are debating with, but you have to start somewhere, right? So this is now the start of this initiative, and we want to be out there. We want it to take some time. It will start on our Discord, and later on we hope we can move to other platforms, Reddit, Steam forums, to have official accounts and throw our comments into the discussions. Right off the top, the only thing I would push back on that statement, it honestly sounds very reasonable. The Steam forums being very toxic and very hostile. Yo, there are wild people out there on the internet everywhere in regards to everything. I have gotten crazy comments before. If I hyper-focus on 1 or 2 comments and label my entire community completely toxic, that just wouldn't be fair. Sure, I get comments about whatever the deal is that I could view as a little hurtful or toxic, but at the end of the day, I can't take 1 comment or 2 comments and then extrapolate it to my entire community. Same thing with the Steam forums. You can label it very toxic, and I'm sure the Steam forum, there's some wild things said on the Steam forums in the community hub and everything like that. I ain't trying to push back on that, but I think the idea of painting everybody under the same umbrella, or putting them under the same umbrella, that's something I always hate. It's a very easy way to facilitate an argument when you are hyper-focusing on the small minority, or even a sum of people that are just saying absolutely heinous and outlandish things that may be a little bit over the top, or a lot bit over the top, but there's a general discussion to be had where a lot of people are just like, yo, we don't want this DRM in our games, the anti-piracy software. We just don't want it in our games. There's a medium, and I think just labeling it very toxic, that's an issue to me because I see this in everything, especially politics, and I'm not going to get into politics on this channel, but I feel like the political landscape is always taking the other side, taking the lowest common denominator, the people that are saying the craziest things, and then focusing that and extrapolating it to the entire community, so to speak. And I see that again in everything, not just in here, but we'll continue. Rock, Paper, Shotgun then asks, you mentioned hostility and toxicity. Do you think there's an element of good faith to the concerns, and how are you aiming to instill some trust or reassure these people? I definitely think there should be a level of trust built. Where it comes to open communication and transparency, we have been very closed in the past, and we will change that, and we will answer questions as honestly as possible if we can answer the question. Of course, on the Discord now, I've already seen a lot of people asking for our pricing and things like that. Of course, I cannot share that, but all the other questions I try to answer as open as possible with this. I try to establish a trust relationship between the average player and us as the provider for these technologies. Of course, I totally understand that people don't believe if I say, yeah, we don't have a performance impact on the game. There needs to be some sort of proof on that, and I think we did a good job before launching all this in writing up our FAQ. I would argue that different games are going to react differently to software like this, where, you can't take one game that uses Denuvo and then assess that game in isolation and be like, okay, it had no performance impacts. Other games might react differently. That's just the world of PC gaming. Different games are going to react differently to very minor things a lot of the times where, having some sort of software open on the background can cause a game to crash. That literally has happened and has been issues in games in the past. And then you look at online and then you can fix it pretty easily, but that is a reality. I think that's very important explaining how our solution works, because if you understand how our solution works, technically it's also easy to understand the augmentation of why our solution does not have a visible performance impact on in-game performance. Why do you think Denuvo has garnered such a poor reputation? Andreas Oman notes, I think two main reasons. First, our solution simply works. Pirates cannot play games which are using our solution over quite long time periods. I don't think a lot of the times it's just people that are pirates that are pushing back on this. I think when you look at the people that pirate games, yes, there's an audience out there that pirates video games. However, I think it has been exponentially proven to an exponential degree, I should say, that if a game is good, it's going to sell very, very well, and Denuvo, anti-piracy DRM, is almost a crutch that people use, or piracy is a crutch that people use on why a game is going to sell poorly. I would argue that a lot of people that are pirating these games, or do pirate games, they don't have the means or the desire to spend money on the game, so it is what it is as far as that's concerned. So there is a huge community, a lot of people on this planet who are not able to play their favorite video games because they are not willing to pay for them, and therefore they have a lot of time to spend in communities and share their view and try to blame Denuvo for a lot of things, trying to make the gaming publishers to not use our solutions so they can start pirating copies of games for free again. Secondly, I think it's super hard for a gamer. I'm a gamer myself, and therefore I know what I'm talking about. I think it's super hard to see as a gamer what is the immediate benefit for me that a certain game developer, game publisher is using our anti-piracy services. For anti-cheat, for example, it's super easy. You as a player have an immediate benefit if a game uses an anti-cheat solution because it's a fair environment in the game and you don't need to face cheaters. It's different though. There was recently a study about the financial impact of our protection. That study said our solution saves our customers around 20% of, or an additional 20% of revenue if they're using our solution. Again, I don't know the validity of that study, but, sure. If I, as a gamer, would read that, I see, okay, then these big corporations are just making even more money, but in the end, it's not that easy, especially currently, the gaming industry is going through a very, very tough time. Budgets for AAA games are in the hundreds of millions. The publishers and developers, they have to afford the upfront, and they need to get the money back within the first few weeks after release. I understand that games are super expensive. I am very curious to know the validity about that 20% number. I just don't feel like Denuvo is causing that many, like, how do you even study that? How many more people are buying the game, because it's implementing Denuvo versus it just being a good game? I do argue that. So it's a huge risk for them, and therefore they are looking to something like an insurance. They're looking for a way to minimize the risk for their investment. Again, this does not have an immediate benefit for me as the player, but if you look further, the more successful a game is, then the longer it will get updates. Yeah, I can see that to an extent. I just argue how successful is a game utilizing Denuvo, because if it is greatly successful, I mean, maybe for a little bit, Denuvo does stop piracy, but ultimately the game's gonna get cracked, and we live in a world where we have so many choice in gaming, and especially if you're a pirate, you can literally have access to any game on the market. So, is Denuvo really causing all of these people to come out and buy these games? I don't know. That is a question that I would love to see answered, and I don't know exactly how we get an answer with that. A lot of companies seem happy enough with the service Denuvo provides to keep using it. Why are you so concerned about public perception? Why not just have people have their theories and carry on doing your things? Hard to answer, so maybe it's just that. Maybe it's even a personal thing. I'm with the company for such a long time. The guys here are like my family because a lot of the others here are also here for ages. It just hurts to see what's posted out there about us, even though it has been claimed wrong for hundreds of times. I obviously, like, anytime that people take it a little bit too far, and social media can be an absolute cesspool, like I said earlier, where people are throwing out death threats and, just absolutely asinine stuff, but an honest conversation, I think, is worth having, and I do think the large majority of people are just looking for that, and I do appreciate them coming out and having a level of transparency attached to this, because somebody's got to do it, and Denuvo's kind of been this in the shadows kind of monster, I think, viewed as in the gaming community for a lot of people in the PC gaming community, and it has been crapped on a lot. So I actually give him credit for coming out and doing an interview like this and being relatively transparent. He continues, on the other hand, I can imagine that this reputation has some kind of business impact. I can imagine that certain developers, probably more in the indie region or the smaller region, are not contacting us in the first place if they are looking for solutions. I am, in the case of an indie game, I do wonder how valuable it would be. I don't know how much Denuvo costs for them, because indie titles, it's a lot of just games exploding out of nowhere. So if you're adding a cost up front, that would be a little bit of an issue, because there are so many indie games that don't turn out well, and I think their main priority would be to cultivate a game that is received well. And if a game is pirated a lot and it's found via piracy, but that escalates the amount of people talking about the game, I think for an indie developer that could actually be more valuable than just implementing some sort of anti-piracy DRM, and then that is already giving you negative perception right off the rip. I do think that is something that indie developers should be weary about, and they shouldn't go the route of Denuvo software, at least from where I stand. Rock Paper Shotgun also asked, the study you mentioned showed that Denuvo software improves revenues at a launch, but it also showed that at a certain point after release, I think it was around 3 months, it evens out. Do you think publishers should have a policy of eventually removing Denuvo and making that clear to the players in their marketing? That's the only point of the study where I'm not totally agreeing. So the only point of the study that is negative towards Denuvo is not being agreed with. Here, fair play to the guy, but that is a little interesting. The reason is, what is the data foundation for this? Because the person who made the study does not know our pricing structure, and without this information, it's hard to calculate the break-even. It doesn't even make sense anymore if you don't know how much somebody is paying for it. Well, wouldn't that be the case for the study across the board? Like, again, I didn't read this interview prior, but I was questioning the study and the validity of it right off the top. Where do you get that 20% number? How is it possible to even calculate that? I would question that, and now the element of the study that does push us back on Denuvo a little bit, that's where we have a problem. We totally agree with the statement that the initial release window is the most important one. That's obviously the case. That initial release window, as I've said in the past, is when the game is at its hottest period. But, people will buy the game during their hottest period, at least I believe. Our contacts are usually structured this way, so it's up to our clients. We are not in a position to enforce or force a customer to patch out our solution after a certain period. We leave that up to our clients. I mean, they all have numbers. They have their sales numbers. They even have the pirate numbers for games that have been cracked. They know how much they make with the game over a certain period of time, so that they have all the data to calculate this break-even point. And then the last question I do want to talk about is Rock, Paper, Shotgun asking about performance. You've pushed back against some of the complaints about Denuvo tanking performance. Can you show us raw data and benchmarks to demonstrate that Denuvo games don't affect performance? Perfect timing for this question, actually. This morning I was going through the aftermath of our Discord opening yesterday because I did not find the time to answer all the questions that came up. And one question there was, of course, it's always about this performance topic. And there was a very healthy discussion started there between two users and myself about what such a test could look like. I posted a long answer in there today, so I would probably mostly repeat this answer here now as well. So basically, I think the one question is, why don't the developers do these comparisons and post them publicly? Because, what? No. Developers are the ones literally releasing broken ports. They do not care about their performance data. That's wild. That's wild that you would ask the publishers and developers to do this because, bro, Last of Us came out last year. Star Wars Jedi Survivor came out this year. The last thing that a lot of these companies care about is doing performance data study. What? Like, come on now. And when we're talking about performance data study of Denuvo versus not, yo, if you're implementing Denuvo, you want people to buy these games, and you're talking about performances of games like Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which was an abomination. Like, that's being released, and you want them to do Denuvo versus not Denuvo studies? Like, come on now. Most developers are not gonna do that. If they're implementing Denuvo, their resources are allocated to making sure that the game sells as much copies as they can. And I would argue that, yes, doing performance study would help with that, but that's not where they are looking at. He continues, that's something we cannot force them to do. Bro, I've been trying to get them to do performance studies forever. Like, it ain't happening. Last of Us came out a year ago. Star Wars Jedi Survivor came out a year ago. All these games have been coming out broken. Denuvo or not Denuvo, like, abomination. They ain't doing no performance studies. Come on now. There seems to be reasons why they are not doing it, and also, on the other hand, probably consider the toxicity of it, especially the pirate community. They would probably not accept that anyway because it could be regged. Second case, we do it. We have the unprotected execute tables usually for the game, so we would have both available. We could do direct comparison, but two problems. Their first would be approval from our customer to do that with a public post using their franchise, their IP, so we would need the okay for that. And the other one is there will be claims that it is rigged. Yeah, I do agree with him. Like, the study would have to be done by an outside third party. It can't be done by Denuvo themselves directly. They have no, they would be a biased party, and yeah, that just doesn't make sense. I'll leave the full interview with Denuvo on Rock, Paper, Shotgun. A lot of interesting information here, and we outlined a lot of it. I think the performance study thing is the funniest thing, but you know, it is what it is. Y'all let me know what you guys think. I thought this was a fun video. We went really, really long on it, so my apologies on that. I typically don't do videos that are north of 15 minutes, but thought this would be an interesting one. That'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Again, link to Rock, Paper, Shotgun in the description box below. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.